君が僕に見せてくれた世界はとても綺麗だったな
Season 2 of The Dangers in My Heart has been one of the best experiences I've had with romance anime. This seemingly simple middle school romance show has some of the most to say, and it has been the biggest surprise for me in this anime season. A story about finding your own self-worth, of learning to love someone else as well as yourself. This season has truly been a masterclass in romance and development, and I say this with no exaggeration, this truly is cinema. It sets its own assignment in the form of a fulfilling and wholesome middle school romance and delivers on that promise as faithfully and tastefully as it can. Every small moment of payoff leaves me in a sugar-induced coma with how honest it is with everything. Looking back through the whole thing, there is nothing I would change about this show. Yeah, alright. Let's address the elephant in the room.
Wow. Okay. You know what?
The first episode of this anime was pretty bad. Any assets it did have were far overshadowed by the overbearing feeling of cringe. Our main character, Ichikawa Kyotaro, is shown to be a case of extreme chunibyo that manifests as him wanting to kill his crush, Yamada Anna. It's obvious from the start how delusional and dismissive of his feelings he was here. That part is fine. There did come a point in episode 1 though where he started becoming so unrelatable that I couldn't even empathize with what was being shown. His thoughts were so weird and extreme that it got me wondering just what happened to him in the past, and if there is even any saving to be done here at all. Surely there was more to it all, I said. There was a little bit. I can admit, the first episode clearly had some things going for it. The writing had shades of being good, I liked how everything was introduced to us in the first episode, and even the art was creative and serious. It's a real shame that all of those good things had to be combined with 20 entire minutes of a chuny middle schooler going way too far with his actions that frankly just seemed too unrealistic to me. It was way too bold of an approach for literally the first episode to alienate me and perhaps several other of its viewers. There's only so far I could stretch the word fiction before it just became uncomfortable. The first episode felt awful to sit through, but you know what? Children can be fucking stupid, and this child right here was just one of those stupid children too. He clearly liked this girl and was too afraid to face those feelings. The following episodes honestly toned back the whole killing his crush part, but I think the damage was already done. On one hand, it could have taken the whole concept and ran with it and been fine. I think there could have actually been an interesting story told from that point of view too. It clearly decided not to go down that path though, and the fact that the whole fantasizing murder part was removed honestly makes episode 1 far worse for me. It was all just stupidly pointless. Why did I have to sit through several unbearable scenes to then never be addressed ever again? In reality, the story takes a step back on Kyotaro's character, where he's now just a normal middle school boy with low self-confidence and has normal chuny fantasies instead of blatantly fucked up ones. In all honesty, at this point, knowing what it can achieve, I can say with a clear mind, I'm glad it abandoned this part of Kyotaro's character. This anime has something to say, quite clearly. Making Kyotaro a normal person is significantly better for what it has to say. I can say that now, but after experiencing episode 1 and then for the whole part of the character to just be removed, I was pissed. The show still remained equally cringe in episode 2 and 3, just with the middle school cringe instead of the serial killer vibes cringe. And I can safely say that neither of the main characters had the vibes that I was looking for. There just didn't feel like there was anything to stay for. I didn't care too badly how Kyotaro came over his lack of self-confidence, and I didn't care that badly about Anna being overly foodie and absent-minded. The setting and the main characters just didn't mix well with my displeasure of episode 1, so I dropped it somewhere around episode 3. I don't feel bad about that either. As far as I'm concerned, I was just in for another slow burn romance with characters that were just fine, and despite its good writing and attempts at making jokes, I didn't feel like I wanted to buy what it was selling to me. In hindsight, I was wrong for not trusting its ability to surprise me, but as far as I'm concerned, I gave it the good old college try, but it was time for me to move on. Ever since then, I heard the occasional whisper of how good the show gets, but I paid it all little to no heed. Until I saw the opening for season 2. Yeah, I've had worse reasons for watching a show. So I decided to give it all another try. Season 1, I still have to say, remained a little difficult to watch at times. It definitely isn't the best piece of fiction, but it's still miles better than it was at the start of the show by even episode 5 or 6. Season 2 though is as good as romance anime of this kind can truly get. I'm not sure what anime god I prayed to, but after all those years of watching romance that goes nowhere in 23 episodes and then suddenly everywhere in the 24th, I feel blessed by something that actually wanted to show a real romance. The pacing is exquisite. There never really is a dull moment in this anime. I can't believe how much pure substance there is provided to us in season 2. Every interaction Anna and Kyotaro have is wholesome for sure, but it always builds towards some progression. Middle school romances can be slow, especially with our main character Kyotaro being as dense and dismissive as he is. But it doesn't ever let you feel that way. There are small payoffs all throughout the show, and there are certainly even bigger payoffs all the way throughout. But one thing is certain, I'm never leaving an episode of the show bored. A lot of romance hinges on the will they won't they aspect to progress the moments of tension slowly. As someone who's watched a ton of romance tagged shows and isn't the biggest fan of this method anyway, I'm glad the show isn't that. It definitely is a they will kind of show. That fact has been clear to the audience since season 1, and it's just a matter of how they end up together and when, essentially. It definitely is a more focused story where the main cast is given pretty much all the space in the story to shine, and it certainly has paid off. The side characters aren't bad, mind you, they just aren't needed for the usual comic relief here. The main duo is the meat and potatoes of the show, and it all just works so well. It just feels like they care about telling a good, fulfilling romance story and what goes with it. The emotions, the uncertainty, it's all there. It doesn't shy away from how truly sweet and cringe middle school romance can truly be. I've come full circle to say that without the cringe, the show isn't even itself. The cringe is the good part. The payoff in this anime fills me up. The payoff in this anime gives me enough joy to not even just tolerate the cringe, but actually find it endearing. Kyotaro, the main source of our cringe on most occasions, is surprisingly understandable. Having an inferiority complex coupled with his anxiety is not an easy situation for anyone, and his actions, even if over the top at times, just make a ton of sense now. That part certainly has gotten better since season 1. His mind is also just laid out bare for the audiences to see though. It makes him so much easier to empathize with. He's also shown to be self-aware enough to recognize his own cringe and his own shortcomings too. Can I really ask for more in a main character? I mean, this is about as good as it gets. The inner monologues, the buff manga version of himself, everything about him is shown to the audience. It makes it that much stronger of a payoff when he finally steps out of his own shell to be brave in those certain moments. If after all of this you still find yourself hating him, I don't know what to say. Even with as cringe as he can be, there is almost nothing I can find to truly hate him for anymore. This is just a well-written middle school boy coming to terms with himself and making changes for the better.
でも逃げ出さない。もう光と出会ったから。
For Yamada Anna, on the other hand, there is far less to say. Despite being talked up as an airhead, she's surprisingly smart and aggressive. The show still treats her like a normal middle school girl though. She has her own worries, her entire career in front of her. There is plenty of character within her to carry the show. Season 2 I still feel like has stepped up on Season 1 though. The wholesome moments between the main cast are better and come more often, the direction of the episodes has clearly stepped up, and the music and soundtracks have been way more noticeable and impactful in this season. There are plenty of things to like about this show now, it really is good. If I hadn't heard the whispers of the show actually getting good, I wouldn't have ever tried watching it again. I didn't want this to be negative about the whole situation, as I feel like there really is enough negativity going around for this anime. Most of the critique of the show though, in my opinion, fails to acknowledge where the show did plenty good in its worst moments too. Its heart has always been in the right place, the execution just didn't hit the mark at the start. Once it started rolling though, it kept giving some of the most wholesome moments I've ever seen. The recovery is more than anything I could hope for it to do. That isn't also to say that the anime is perfect now. There are plenty of moments of actual physical cringe I don't enjoy, and plenty of conflicts I see coming from a mile away that happen the exact way I think they'd go down. There is a world of difference between those criticisms and what I felt towards the show in the first few episodes. There is genuine quality here, and it won't be seen by those who dismissed the show at the first possible instance they could. I hope the message is clear by now. If you drop this anime at episode 1 or anywhere early on, consider continuing. You might find one of the sweetest and most heartfelt romance stories you've ever seen. For those who find this topic exhausting, I do apologize. I hope I could convey my love for this anime and how sad it was that the first episodes, or perhaps even the first few episodes, were such a blemish on something that did otherwise have plenty to say. This was far better than anything I could have hoped for, and as someone who got converted, the manga readers and anyone that telling me this anime actually got good later on were actually right this time. If you guys liked what I had to say here, consider liking the video. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you all, and peace.